one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk Jets, February 24th, from a very, very snowy New Jersey where I've had it, Bubs. I'm tired of snow. I'm tired of seeing it, looking at it, feeling it, shoveling it. I'm over it, dude.
Yes, I'm right there with you. I'm ready for spring, ready for seeing the grass again. The snow's been ridiculous, 24, 25 inches, however much you got. I know Long Island got slammed too. I think they were up to like 30 inches, so it's been crazy. I was telling you off air, I was hoping to golf in a couple weeks, but that's not happening. That's going to have to be postponed probably until at least a month until this snow clears, because this has been a crazy winter, that's for sure.
Dude, I saw the grass for one day. One day,
Yep.
like, I feel good about things. Like, this isn't so bad. Like, went for a nice run, and now, boom, back to, like, it's just – and then it's like, you're supposed to get more snow, I think, what, tomorrow and Thursday, like, more, like, just flurries and whatever else. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think a couple more inches, but yeah, you're spot on. It melted. We started to get some rain. It started to get into the 40s, which with the weather we've had this winter, the 40s feels like 80s here. It's crazy how the difference from when we went through that stretch where it was like 5 degrees every day. But yeah, we saw the grass for about 24 hours, and now it's covered in the white stuff again. So it's been a long winter.
So we got a lot to talk about. You have the Aaron Glenn press conference, Darren Mougey press conference, Scouty Combine, all kinds of personnel moves happening. But we have really good news. Today was the day that we found out something that no one else in the NFL has but the New York Jets. We have something in our organization that no other organization has. We have a head coach with superpowers. Now, this, you know what, Bubs, I've been down and out. I've been negative. I've been angry. I've been looking for a guiding light. And that light came to me today out of Indianapolis, where our head coach spoke to us and said, you know what? Hold on, folks. I have play calling superpowers that are going to change our fortunes. Your thoughts?
Yes, finally the light at the end of the tunnel, right? We always hear it, the one caller that calls in all the time, that's always a train. Now it's finally the light. It's Glenn's superpower. I didn't expect to walk away from today's press conference I've seen all the memes and stuff on Twitter now of Glenn dressed up as like a superhero, and it's never a dull moment with this team in terms of the play calling, and that's his superpower. I don't even know if you could consider it that being his strength, because it wasn't like his defenses in Detroit were that elite when he was calling plays. You brought Glenn in to be a CEO, culture-changing head coach. You didn't bring him in to be an X's and O's guy where his schemes were above everybody else. But look, this is a guy that's on the hot seat. I think he realizes if he's going to go down, he wants to go down with him calling plays. He wants to go down with him running this defense, and he's going to be able to do that. But, yeah, the wording on it, it's just like, here we go again with this talking in circles, saying dumb stuff. Like, you could have left the superhero part out, superpower part out. It's just – like you won 3 games. There's no superpowers right now.
It's stupid. None of it makes sense. It's like they're trying to cover their ass from making a lot of clumsy decisions. The entire process from the end of the season to today has been so clumsy and awkward and foolish and ridiculous. And now they have their final product, which is fine. But the way they went about it was completely half-assed. Now, I don't believe a word Glenn said today, because at the end of the season, I had to think about it, and the timeline was exactly the way I wanted. That's complete bullshit, dude. So if you had the need to call plays, or I felt the need to call plays, first of all, the day the season was over, you talk about then. You know what I've learned this season is the way Steve Wilkes ran didn't really go the way I wanted. I want to call plays for my defense because I want my players to play my way. Never once did he ever say that. So he's full of shit there. Secondly, conveniently, the whole Wink Martindale, Woody Johnson meeting kind of were in sync of the same little timeline. So that's a lie too. So while he's trying to come off like he's organized, prepared, we know it's not true. Don't lie to us. It's like Pinocchio. Nobody believes those stories. And Wink Martindale, an established defensive coordinator, was willing to not call plays under Aaron Glenn. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous, dude.
100%. They talk to us like we're 4-year-olds. We're not dumb. We're not stupid. We've seen this before. We've seen the same song and dance before. We've seen the same nonsense from Glenn talking himself around in circles all throughout last offseason into the regular season and now. You're spot on with that. I didn't believe one word that came out of his mouth today from, oh, we knew it was going to be a longer process, but it was all part of the plan. Everything that happened, all part of the plan. Let me just go to the offensive coordinator for a second. So the plan was to hold on to Tanner Engstrand for three weeks and then all of a sudden say, oh, let's fire you, and then go through an offensive coordinator interview process. That first off was demote you. So the plan was to first demote him, and you knew Engstrand wasn't going to want to do that. I wouldn't want to be demoted. I'd say, hey, get me out of here. I want to go somewhere else. So you go through that process where they were walking backwards with that too. 3 weeks into you had the Broncos, who made it to the AFC title game, fired their OC right about the same time the Jets did. The Jets were they had a chance to be ahead of everybody else in the OC search. You waited 3 weeks to do that with Engstrand. So that in itself didn't go as planned. You can't sit here and tell me that was all part of the process, all part of this genius plan that Glenn continues to sell us. And the whole Wink Martindale thing too, and Brian Duker, right? This is where it's even more of a circus. You can't sit here and tell me that Wink Martindale was even willing to get onto that plane to fly to Jersey to interview a second time knowing he wasn't going to call plays. There's no chance. He wouldn't even have accepted the first interview if he wasn't going to call plays. That's not who Wink Martindale is. He's coming in here to call plays. It's his way or the highway. That's always how Wink is. He's got that type of personality. We saw that, like, sometimes that personality has actually hurt him in his NFL career, where it's like it's my way or no way. There's no chance he was coming here taking a second interview, knowing that Glenn was going to call the plays. It smells like a Woody Johnson decision. Smells like Woody Johnson getting his hand on something, and smells like Aaron Glenn has no clue what he's doing. And then you're going to say the plan then is, okay, you talk so highly of Brian Duker, why didn't you interview him in your first 8 candidates then? If you were that high on him, why did you have Wink in the building that Sunday afternoon, and then the next day, Brian Duker is getting a virtual interview, and you hire him the very next day? It was one Zoom interview with Duker, and they hired him. That's not a part of the process. That's no plan. That's just a coach who's lost, an owner who's meddling. That's where we're at with this. There was no foundation to this offseason. None. Nope. It's why we were sitting here 2 weeks ago still without a clue of who the offensive coordinator is. I mean, people were talking about the schedule getting released in May. Were we going to have an OC by May? That was a serious question. The same thing with DC as well.
You get a senior bowl, dude. A senior bowl, no coaching staff in place.
It was a train wreck from the start, and I can't stand this process. If that's your process, then we're winning 3 games next year, because that process is a complete train wreck. From the day the season ended, you also had more time. You fired Wilkes with 3 games left in the season. You had 3 extra weeks. That's when they started to talk to Wink, because they were allowed to, because he obviously wasn't in the NFL. He was over in college. I didn't buy a second of it, and I'm just. Look, he's not going to sit there and bash Woody. I get that. And I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, I want Glenn to go up there and talk about Woody like he's this terrible owner. He's not going to do that. You're not going to say that about your boss. But I cringe when he talks about Woody and defends him. He goes like an extra mile to defend him. It's so weird. Like, other coaches actually haven't done that. There's something about Glenn. He always goes a little bit further to have to mention Woody, to talk highly of Woody. Any chance he gets, he brings up Woody as this great owner. I mean, even at the end of the season, he's like, oh, me, Woody, Mougey, we're all going to get in a room. We're going to figure this thing out. I'm like, geez, he thought that was a flex. That's scary. Those 3 talking football in a room, that's a disaster. I wish I was a fly on the wall in that room. I mean, you get what I'm saying, though? It's like he talks about Woody like he's this football genius. You don't have to bash him, but can we stop with the Woody support all the time?
The Jets are so insecure as an organization and so worried about the public backlash and all the strays they've been taking. Cameron Jordan yesterday, a couple of days ago, they're so worried about the media narrative that they go above and beyond to try to offset it. Oh, this isn't true. This isn't true. This Aaron Glenn said himself, I got to win games. That's it. Just worry about winning games, dude, because the more you talk, the less we believe you. And I knew it, dude. I knew the way that they handled the whole coaching thing was awful, and they couldn't talk their way out of it. And he tried really hard today. I found it comical. I'm like, this is just, it's ridiculous, dude. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Glenn talked, and it was like, you know what? You just wasted 10 minutes of my life. Fine. You wasted all last year for me, too. It's fine.
Yeah, he wasted 17 weeks, or 18 weeks.
Mougey talked, and it was interesting because he does a really good job of not saying a lot. And right now it's smokescreen season, where you're not going to get a lot. Teams are going to hype up their own players. They want to try to get any kind of leverage and stir up a market. So the Breece Hall thing caught nobody by surprise. What they're going to say is, we want to keep our good players. We want to keep our young players and all of that. Breece Hall, they have another week to get a deal done. If not, they're going to tag him. Fine. Works for me. Because right now we know the Jets are not going to get a deal done with Breece Hall because he wants to test free agency. He'd be out of his ever-loving mind to take a deal now without getting a chance to test the open market, right? Like, why would I get a deal with the Jets? Let's see what the Chiefs are going to offer me or whatever else. So I'm not going to get a deal done. Now it comes down to transition tag or franchise tag. Which route they go. You can make an argument $14 million for 1 year Breece Hall. Maybe not the best value. You can make an argument $11 million makes sense, but a good chance you do transition tag. He's probably going to get a deal somewhere else. But that's the Jets' first point of business, and it starts with Breece Hall, man.
Yeah, and it sounds like Mougey and the Jets, and they've said this a lot. There's one look, Mougey, like you said, he does a good job of, he says a lot without saying a lot. Like, he does a good job of not really saying much at all. It's typical GM speak with Mougey. I think the big takeaway is they want Breece back, and they've said that a lot, that they want him back. And I still believe that if you give Breece the money that he feels he is deserving of and he feels he earns, that he'll be fine and he'll take an extension here and move forward with the Jets. I don't necessarily know if I completely believe that Breece doesn't want to be here. I think if you pay him, he'll stay here. But in terms of the transition tag, I think it's interesting because the one problem and the one concern that the Jets have is they have the right of first refusal, but if they lose him, you don't get the comp pick for him. And I think most of us Jet fans would agree, the one thing you can't do, whether or not you want Breece back, whether you don't want him back, whether you think the franchise tag's the right move, whatever you feel is best for Breece, I think we can all agree, don't lose him for nothing, whether it's a tag and trade, or if you're going to transition tag him, that means like you've got to, you essentially are, and Samini did a good job actually posting this the other day, you're essentially letting the other team do the heavy lifting with the transition tag, where they kind of set the bar and you say, okay, we'll match it, we're not going to match it. But you do run the risk if you don't match it, you don't match the offer sheet, then he goes to another team and you don't get nothing for him and you don't get a comp pick. That's the risk you run, as opposed to a typical tag and trade where if you can't work out a deal, then you could just trade him and you get value for him. That's the
first question is this. What is the true market value of Breece Hall? Because what he thinks he is and what he is probably two different things. You also got to think about, there's a lot of other very good free agent running backs out there that are available without trading for him, right? And you also have the draft of Jeremiah Love there. So you have plenty of other options minus Breece Hall. So if he has some ludicrous, like, I want to pay like a top 5 running back, you just saw Javonte Williams' contract was $8 million a year. If Breece wants 14, I'd rather pay 8. I'd rather pay 10. Cap space matters. Doesn't it? If you have an abundance of cap space, you don't just spend it haphazardly. Like, I personally don't think that Breece Hall's a $14 million a year player. My personal opinion. I don't think he is. Been wrong many times before, so be it. But that's where it's like, is there going to be a market where there's going to be a bidding war for Breece Hall? Is that the case where you want Breece Hall or Isaiah Pacheco? Do you want Breece Hall or, like, there's other guys out there, Walker, man. Right?
It's a good point. I think Breece, like, for me, comfortable paying range would be maybe like 12 million range. I don't think he's going to get 15 personally. Not even just from the Jets, just from another team. I mean, 15, you'd be talking like Derrick Henry range. I don't see that happen. I think Derrick Henry's at 15. I mean, James Cook last year, you mentioned the Javonte contract, that just happened, right? 8 million. James Cook was 11.5. Kyron Williams was 11. I look more that range as what I would be comfortable with and what I think his value could be at. Samini actually kind of put a contract projection out there, something along the lines of, can you do a 3-year 33 or 3 years 33 million, which would be 11 million per year. And then maybe like 20 million guaranteed. That is something I can get on board with. If you go to 12, I can get on board with that. You get up to the 14, 15 range, you're talking like Derrick, you're talking like third highest paid running back money. And he's not, I agree with you in terms of that. Like, he's not at that point of contract. I feel most comfortable 11, 12 million range. And I feel like the Jets probably do as well. And if Breece is being realistic, that's kind of where he should be valued at, specifically when you look at the Kyron and James Cook contracts in that same ballpark. And can you make it like a 2-year deal too, where you could get out of it after year 2, potentially do that either? But
I think he wants long-term. He wants stability. He wants the guaranteed money. He's not going to settle for anything less. That's going to be what he's going to demand. And he probably wants to win too. Like, to be honest with you, I'm not buying Mougey's stance that, Breece Hall wants to be here. Every action he's done has said the opposite. So what Mougey's trying to do is saying, he wants to be here, to try to say, listen, he actually wants to be here. If you want to trade for him, we want a 3rd round pick instead of a 4th round pick or whatever else. Like a lot of the stuff, the smoke screens is like they're trying to create like, we have this kind of, you've got to up your offer for us. And I don't know, man, like this, to me, Breece Hall doesn't make or break my offense. He doesn't. Like, if you want to keep him, great. If he walks, great. If he walks for nothing, you blew it the trade deadline last year.
Yeah.
You got too demanding with your pick. So they got to see how to play it. But I mean, and then the other thing with Breece Hall is he's got to sign his tag. You tag him, okay, you tag me. If I don't sign it, then you're sitting and waiting. Does he hold out? Like, is he going to be a disgruntled guy? Like, you know what? You tag me the franchise tag. Will he sign it? Will he hold out? Will he be a pain in the ass? Will it be a distraction? Do you even want to deal with all that? And then while they're going through all that, you still have your Kenneth Walkers and everybody else out there. You know, it's like, I don't, how many teams in the NFL, like you watch all these free agent rankings, Breece Hall number 2, Breece Hall number 4, like, do teams all think that though? Do they think Breece Hall is a game-breaking elite running back? Maybe because they're going to be like, we have a better offense, a better quarterback. He'll be healthy. Is that what they're banking on?
Yeah, I'd assume that's probably what most are banking on what he did this past season, because he was solid this past season, right at over 1,000 yards. Some of his yards over expected numbers.
1,000 yards doesn't mean anything, dude. It doesn't.
No, I know, but I think a lot of
he's been inconsistent the whole goddamn time. For every flash we saw, how many times did he fumble, drop a pass, or look slow? Not breaking tackles, falling down, not hitting the right hole. Is it like we could blame a lot of things on bad quarterback play and everything else?
Yes, well, that's why. No, yeah, I agree. I mean, there's like Breece, I think specifically 2024, I thought the burst wasn't there when he was a lot of times he'd hit the line of scrimmage and kind of just fall down. I agree with that. But I do think a lot of people around the league, a lot of teams around the league are going to look at Breece potentially and see the offense around him too, the lack of getting him involved as receiver, the lack of quarterback play, the overall coaching. Like, I do think people would look at that, see his production in that, and then hope that and believe that their offense is better suited for him, that they'd get more out of him. Because I do think most people would agree that they should use Breece Hall more as a receiver. They don't do that enough. I think a lot of teams could see that and say they haven't used him enough as a receiver. The run concepts are a little bit too vanilla. I mean, how many times this year do we see 2 Angstrom? They go horizontal on 4th down as opposed to, or in some of these situations, as opposed to just going up the middle or whatever the case may be. But that's where I think a lot of teams would view that is in our offense, better quarterback play, better play calling, using him more as a receiver, you get more out of him.
Yeah,
I could see that potentially.
But even as a receiver, there's times he was disappointing too, where it's like you didn't see him breaking tackles, doing things like he has those 1 or 2 plays. Like, that's the old Breece. That old Breece wasn't there a lot. And I think honestly, a lot of times the losing caught up to him, the tanking and everything else. He just got defeated and was like, you know what? He's just going with the flow here and not being part of the answers, but part of the problem. And that's another thing where it's like, is he, when Harrison Phillips talked about the culture of players in the locker room, shit like that, Breece Hall is one of the first guys I thought about. Literally. Isn't like the kind of the mood, the culture, like, you know, like, remember what wasn't on the trade deadline? He had the prayers and the freaking Instagram story.
He's the king of the cryptic Instagram or that Twitter post.
Like, it's like all these distractions. Like, if you're talking about changing your culture and moving on, is that the kind of guy you want to do it? Or do you say, you know what, if he starts playing winning football and plays with a better quarterback, his whole attitude will change and be a bigger contributor? To me, like a change of scenery seems better for both sides.
Yeah, I think if you pay him, he's fine. Like if you pay him what he wants, or he gets, let's say the market for him isn't great, right? And they give him the transition tag, and the highest offer he gets is, let's say, $12 million, and the Jets match that, give him 12.5, whatever. Like, I don't think he's going to be unhappy. But I understand the concerns of.
I think he wants to win too. I think he's tired of the losing. Yeah,
he's tired of the. Yeah, I think everybody is in the locker room.
But that's part of your problem is when you have guys that become part of that losing culture. The way you change it is moving on from them. So, okay, listen, we need a new attitude, a new mindset here. Braylon Allen's coming back. You know, you have Isaiah Davis. Those are both contributors. Go draft somebody or sign somebody else. Go get your Isaiah Pacheco or somebody else and move on and figure it out. Like, you know, it's. I understand the player is. I understand his value, but tagging to pay him on a 1 year, $14 million a year deal doesn't make sense to me because you have the same problem again next year. What do you do? Tag him again? Like, it's just
No, I agree with that. I am trying to work out a long-term thing with him. Or if you can't, get something for him. That's the boat I'm in too. Like because then you're in the same spot next year, and potentially his value is even higher next year if he does have a very good season this year. But ideally, you work out a long-term extension. So yes, you don't have to be in this situation this time next year.
And the other thing too is like, oh, we'll do a sign and trade. Okay, so then our team's going to be willing to pay him that. Our team's going to be willing, like if you say you give him your James Cook contract, you have 4 years, $48 million, like that. Is there teams out there saying, you know what, we're willing to trade you a 3rd round pick and then inherit that contract? Are teams willing to do that? I'm not so sure they're going to be willing to do that. You know, would you rather have Breece Hall or Jeremiah Love?
It really all depends on how the league views him, how these other teams view him. If they view him as that type of player, that trade him, sitting with the tag and trade. If they feel that their extension if their extension matches what Breece wants, then you get a tag and trade scenario too, depending on where the market is for him with all 31 other NFL teams. Now, obviously not all 31 teams are in on Breece, but you get the point. The other teams that would be in the market for running back. And I mean, how much does Jeremiah Love weigh into the decision? Same thing with you throw Kenneth Walker out there, all these other guys. The Javonte Williams contract, how much does that impact too? Because statistically, Javonte Williams was better than Breece Hall last year. He had a very good season for the Cowboys. And that's also a Cowboys team that's really struggled at the running back position the last couple of years. They found kind of lightning in a bottle with Javonte Williams. So that contract too does certainly affect the Breece market, no doubt.
You got Rico Dowdle out there. And the comment here is Mougey kind of sound like they don't want to let him go because they have to say that. First of all, the trade deadline, they didn't do anything with him. So now he's here. And if the backlash, if he does go, especially for nothing, will be like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're going to look ridiculously incompetent. So trying to say the right thing. So if they do have to trade him, they're trying to build a market for him. Like, listen, he wants to stay here. We want him to stay here. But if you offer us a 3rd round pick, he could be yours. So a lot of stuff today is all smoke screen and nonsense. But, you know, this is going to determine a lot for the Jets. The other thing, coming out of this was, they didn't say a lot. Mougey didn't say all that. But the one interesting thing was Justin Fields' thing was funny too. We're like, oh, well, he's still under contract and there's no triggers in his contract. Listen, dude. You're not getting nobody to trade for Justin Fields. Nobody is trading for him. You're not going to get a 6th round pick this year, next year, or 10 years from now. Nobody's giving you nothing for him. It's just a matter of time when you cut him. I mean, that's funny. But the other interesting thing was Will McDonald, where he mentioned, you know what, we like Will McDonald. They may pick up his 5th-year option, which to me is very interesting because $15 million for a very inconsistent player. Now, do you look at it where it's like, well, Jermaine Johnson's in a contract year. If he doesn't play all that well or whatever else happens and he walks and Will McDonald doesn't have a contract, we could be without any pass rushers. So I'm wondering if they're doing that or they would pick up the option for saying, hey, you know what? If Robert Saleh wants to trade for him, we have something. Like, I'm curious how they handle Will McDonald. That was an interesting comment today.
Yeah, picking up the 5th year. I'm not too surprised that they'll be picking up the 5th year on him. And I understand the logic behind it. Obviously, you mentioned kind of the Jermaine situation as well, what the future is with him. Just the whole defensive end room in general, they're going to need to add there. And I'm curious this is a big year for both Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. Like, if they go out there and have the seasons they had last year, it's tough to really, especially if you go out and draft an Arvell Reese or whoever, and they have really big seasons or they look good, and especially if you change defensively scheme-wise, you go from a 4-3 to a 3-4. How does that affect things? Specifically with Jermaine Johnson, how would that affect things? But yeah, I mean, Will McDonald has to be more consistent, and I think from a Jermaine perspective, I don't think he's here long term.
I think he's going to go right to Robert Saleh, dude. Either him or
Yes.
Ulbrich. I think they're going to be gone.
Yeah. McDonald will obviously be here. I could definitely see a Jermaine trade, and I agree with you, happening this offseason. I could definitely potentially see it. If not, he's out at the end of the year anyway because he'll be playing on his 5th year.
Yep. So the press conferences today, not really a lot. Little nuggets you talk about. You can make fun of some of the comments from Aaron Glenn because just completely ridiculous. Now, one interesting note that came out is that there's it looks like the Falcons will be moving on from Kirk Cousins. So you add him to the quarterback free agent market, which makes things very interesting when you figure older quarterback, accomplished quarterback, been there, done that, in terms of competent, can make you competitive, can help you run your offense and be a mentor and a leader. he kind of checks all those boxes. Does he have the arm strength still to play in the Northeast? Not so sure about that, but where would you rank Kirk Cousins in your tier of free agents where it's like everybody's talking about Mariota, free agent stuff, not guys that we trade for. Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo, Geno Smith. Like, where would you put them in those ranks?
Cousins, right? Up near the top, or where I'd put him in the ranks. Out of the free agents, and I think he'd be near the top for me because it'd probably be like him and Mariota. And I like Mariota because he can move around a bit. And he actually played pretty well with the Commanders last year, with Daniels out. Cousins wasn't bad last season. Like, you look at his numbers and the way he played, they actually won some games with him. He was pretty solid. He is another year older, and it will be another year removed from the Achilles. I think he'll be 38 when the season begins.
Yep.
I'm not opposed to Kirk at all. I mean, if he can go out there and give what he gave to the Falcons during his stretch of starts last season, I think he had 10 touchdowns in his 10 total games. If you stretch that across a 17-game slate or whatever the Jets need him to do, he's a solid game-managing quarterback that if he can throw you 19 touchdowns, 20 touchdowns, and limit the turnovers, and which I know he had the interception issue 2024. I think he threw like 16 picks, but I like Kirk. I don't mind Kirk, honestly. Out of the free agent options, him and Mariota are up there. I still personally, Brissett would be my number one overall. Obviously not a free agent, but
so
if you're going to go like the veteran route, Kirk Cousins would be near there.
Okay,
the top.
So Kirk Cousins, what are you going to pay him, and how many years are you going to give him?
I'm giving him 1 year.
Ugh.
Probably
one. Why would you take that?
Maybe a 2 year deal. I guess 2 years would probably make more sense because then you'd have him under contract next year too. Yeah.
So what are you paying?
And then for whatever rookie you take, I think his market value, I think is what right now he's in the midst of a 4-year 180. I think could you get him for like 2 for I don't know, is it 5 per year? Maybe.
How much you gonna pay him?
Is it what 2 for 10? 10 across 2. I don't know. What's his per year now is what 33, I think.
Right.
Or 24 now. Probably be he'd probably what 20 million?
Probably more than that, man.
20 million per.
Yeah, he's gonna probably get 25 to 30 million a year.
And yeah, because I think he's making because it's what a 180 over 4 now, which is I think that's up near like 45, I think. So yeah, you're probably looking at
15, so you're going to pay
like 20 plus,
willing,
20 plus.
As a rebuilding New York Jets team that's looking for a bridge quarterback, are you going to pay a 37-year-old Kirk Cousins with questionable arm strength to play in the Northeast $30 million a year for 2 years? Because keep in mind, Kirk Cousins is like an NFL Hall of Famer when it comes to contracts. The guy worked the franchise tag well.
He milks every dollar out of you.
So he's not coming for cheap, not coming for a discount, and it's his last contract in the NFL. Are you willing to pay him that? Or say, okay, listen, we know what he is, but in terms like you can get Marcus Mariota, who's 5 years younger, for a lot cheaper, and maybe go Marcus Mariota and somebody else with him, Tyrod Taylor, whoever else, maybe somebody better than Tyrod Taylor. But Kirk Cousins makes sense until you look at the dollars and cents and everything else, and it may not. And the other thing is, who is there going to be a market for him? Will it be the Vikings? Will it be the Steelers? Will it be somebody else that will be competing with him? But I'm not so sure, dude. And then again, I know that he's blown us off twice, but the Jets are probably one of 3 teams that'll offer him a contract to be a starter.
Yeah.
But that money could be huge, dude. And where you're at right now may not make that sense, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand that aspect of it. And I think you look at Mariota, his previous AAV, I think with Washington was like 8 million. I believe it was in that range. So under 10, you could probably get Mariota for 4 or 5, much cheaper than 6, maybe at most. Probably under 5, probably like 4.7, 4.8. AAV in terms of for Mariota. And then you go down the list, like you could probably get Trubisky for around the same too. I think Trubisky was only making about like 2 with the Bills.
Yeah, but I think Mariota will want more because listen, I'm coming here to start for your team.
Yeah.
But if you give him 12, 15, I don't even care. But he's also younger. But it's also the most important thing is I want all these contracts to be at least 2 years because you want to have your bridge this year but also as you get your young quarterback next year, they can either play, like just say the Jets get say you get Mariota and Tommy DeVito this year, and then you draft somebody. Next year you have Mariota here. So if you draft whoever, Arch Manning, whoever, he can start the season, and then you can transition over to your other guy. My bridge quarterback, I'd like ideally be 2 years. That's why for me, Kirk Cousins would be out. I don't pay Kirk Cousins $30 million next year, where in the perfect world, he's only playing half the year as your rookie starts playing. So it's kind of financial maneuvering there that makes this interesting. And the other thing, too, is you look at, if you don't go that route, do you go the trade route, which there's a lot of options out there, but are they truly out there? For example, Mac Jones, everybody's talking about Mac Jones. He's the perfect – he's a perfect cheap insurance policy for the 49ers. If you want to get him, you're going to pay dearly to get him. Davis Mills, everyone's talking about Davis Mills. He's the perfect insurance policy for the Houston Texans. Why would you give him up? Jacoby Brissett, if they cut Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett, your starter. That's not going to happen. So the trades all make sense. Like, oh, just go do that. But are they even realistic? Can they even happen? Unless you want to blow away a team with really high compensation, which the Jets probably don't want to do that either.
Yeah, even when you look at the whole Mac Jones thing too, like and same, or even the Jacoby Brissett situation rather. Why would they deal him potentially too when he might be their starter next season, depending on what happens with Kyler Murray? So that's another thing to throw into the mix. And same thing, like you said, with the two examples in San Fran, and then same goes for what was the other example? The Mac Jones and
Mac Jones, Davis Mills.
Yes, Davis Mills, who at times actually looked better than Stroud. And then Brissett, Brissett would still be my top option, but the more and more time goes on, the more and more you could see a world where I think if they're going to sign somebody, it'd probably be Malik Willis. And if they don't, I could very well see them rolling with Brissett, which in that situation, they're not going to trade him, especially with the Kyler Murray situation. So, it's tough. And that's where you get to more of you could even potentially look at like your younger veteran options, the Tanner McKees of the world. And then that's where you get to the cheaper versions of like the Jimmy G's, Marcus Mariotas of the world. The Jimmy G's, Mitch Trubisky's, those guys.
To me, Tanner McKee is much different than all of them because Tanner McKee has done next to nothing in the NFL.
Yeah.
But you're paying on his reputation as being a great leader, locker room guy, all that, and his potential. Yeah. But then to me, it's like if you trade Tanner McKee, his contract is cheap. I think it's less than $2 million this year. I would have to, in theory, you'd want to add on a second year, at least give him an extension. Like, listen, we're trading a fourth-round pick for him, but I'd add a year on in case you catch lightning in the bottle. He's under contract for the following year, and you can kind of figure it out. But also, based on his inexperience, you'd need a Marcus Mariota too, because you can't say because Tanner McKee comes in and he's not as advertised and he's sucking or he gets hurt, whatever else.
Yeah, that's where you have the veteran fallback.
Right, and you give him competition too. Like you don't like the worst thing the Jets always do is they hand the job to somebody. Here you go, job's all yours. Take it. Justin Fields, take the job. Zach Wilson, take the job. No. Bring in Tanner McKee. If you want to trade for him, great. Take a chance. But have somebody competent enough to challenge him throw for throw and make him earn it. Best man wins. Other guy backs him up, and your draft pick sits and watches. That would be the perfect world for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the Giants path. Bring in the two veterans. And I like the potential idea of like if you're going to go the veteran, younger quarterback and then a rookie. Right, let's say Mariota, McKee being younger, and then you draft somebody, whoever that might be. I'd even throw Sam Howell in the mix too, not trade, but free agency. You could probably get him for cheap too. That could be like your younger, still think he's only like 25. That could be your younger Tanner McKee option type quarterback, and then a Trubisky, Jimmy G. Pickett, Mariota, whoever, Kirk Cousins, right? Any of those guys, or a trade, Brissett, if you elect to go down that road. Where you have veteran, the older quarterback, the experienced quarterback, you have the younger backup option, Sam Howell, whoever, and then you have your rookie where he's sitting and holding the clipboard until you feel he's ready to play. Because you're spot on. You can't put yourself in a situation where, like hypothetically, it's like Tyrod and a backup. The Jets would do that too. Where it's Tyrod and a rookie, where Tyrod gets hurt halfway through first game and Ty Simpson's out there now in game number 1 when you plan on playing him in week 12. So I agree. And that's where like Jameis Winston would be perfect right now, but he's under contract. It's a year too late.
Yeah, there's two other names. The first one is Malik Willis, where
I don't see it happening.
Nope. Well, I don't see it happen for a variety of reasons, but the first thing is the price tag. People's like, oh,
Yeah.
he wants the $30 million. I'm out because the Jets have already been burned once on a lesser deal with Justin Fields. I'm not taking a chance on Malik Willis at that price. Absolutely not. Can't do that because it's just they're not in a position. They don't have that wiggle room. If he wants to go to Miami and go down there where they're true rebuild and there's no pressure to win or anything like that, the Jets right now are not in a true rebuild. They're in save your ass mode and win games mode, and they can't count on Malik Willis. If you're paying him $30 million, you're not going to get Marcus Mariota. The other name, which is interesting, but nobody was going to talk about it, is Geno Smith, where if you're looking at us, there's a very good chance he probably would not want to come back to New York and deal with the media and whatever else. But you can make a case for him. Last year was a complete nightmare in Vegas for a litany of reasons. Some his fault, a lot of it not his fault. You can make a case. He could be a better option than friggin' Kirk Cousins, dude. Got the arm strength, got the mobility, tough as hell, can play in the Northeast, knows all the stuff around here. But the only problem is he most likely wouldn't want to come back to beat a Jet.
Yeah, I don't see Geno either happening. And last season was just so poor in terms of what took place at Vegas. His play was poor. I think you're better off going after. He would be kind of like the Kirk Cousins trade option, I guess, if that makes sense. Like he would probably be that level of quarterback in a way. I think you're better off going the cheaper route or going just a free agency route as opposed to giving up. And I agree with you. I don't think Geno, especially after what took place last year, now he's going to come back here. I don't know if he's would love that idea either.
Yeah, so definitely going to be interesting. Scouting combine, be all kinds of rumors. Good.
What about you? How much stock do you put into? Because this is where the whole Kirk Cousins thing kind of comes into play too, and some of these other guys say, how much stock do you put into the Frank Reich type of quarterback? Where like Mariota doesn't really fit that.
Nope.
And that's my whole thing too. He's not really that mobile. He likes the pocket passers, which Kirk Cousins would fit. You know, Brissett obviously play with him would fit. Even Geno would fit. I mean, he's not 6'5", I think he's like 6'3", but he would also kind of fit that more prototypical pocket passer.
Yep.
How much stock do you put into that with Frank Reich? Where do you feel he's willing to change and roll with a Mariota?
Well, I'm hoping that he's willing to, that's a good question. Because I'm hoping that he's willing to evolve and say, listen, this is my prototype, but based on the situation we're in, I'm capable of developing an offense to maximize this player's skills as well. I'm hoping that's the case because, Mariota's not the end all be all, but he's still a serviceable quarterback that may be your best option based on his age and price tag. Kirk Cousins comes with some concerns. Like, let's not act like he's he's never been injured, never been this. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's 38. He had the Achilles 2 years ago. He got benched for a reason. He's available for a reason. That's the whole thing. All of these guys are available either via trade, their names are out there, or free agents. They're all available for a reason. Like, they've all got their lumps. They've all got their issues. Mariota would be, if you had to rank him, like Mariota would be fun. He can run around a bit. It would be, he's not just going to sit in there and just take sacks all day. Like he'd be able to move a bit, run around a little bit more entertaining than your aging pocket passer. If like Kirk Cousins just comes here and just struggles, it's going to be bad because those are your just guys that expensive bad, and those guys they can't move. Like I've always said, it's good to have a backup that can move a bit, which I do like. But does that fit what Frank Reich wants? That's the whole question.
And the other thing too, it's like, what's the criteria for your quarterback at this point where the Jets are at? It just be serviceable, be able to get in and out of the huddle, right? Run the offense, spread the ball around, and don't throw 3 interceptions a game. Like just be competitive, be competent. That's all we're really asking for. And a lot of these guys check that box. There is no slam dunk franchise quarterback out there. No free agent, at least. Maybe you draft somebody, but it's slim pickings, and you're trying to find the lesser of all evils here at some point, at the right price, at the right age, and that actually fits Frank Reich's vision, and Bill Musgrave, which I know like Derek Carr has been mentioned and Mitch Trubisky. Derek Carr seems like he wants to go to a winning organization, take the Jets out of that. Mitch Trubisky, I mean, he checks the boxes too, unfortunately. Yeah,
the funny part with Derek Carr saying that though is which team with Derek Carr starting at quarterback is going into the season with Super Bowl expectations. I did find that quote funny because they does rule the Jets out, But I also think if Derek Carr's your starter, you're probably not talking Super Bowl in the summer. But I don't want Carr either. The contract plus his decline was, you started to really see it coming off the shoulder surgery, major shoulder surgery. He's been out of the league now for a season. He hasn't started a game since December of 2024. Funny enough, it was actually against the Giants in MetLife. Yep. So, he'd be right back at home, I guess. But it's like I'm not a big Carr guy. And I agree with the Kirk stuff. It is hard to see him here. And it's probably more than not, he's not coming here. Most likely it's not happening. If anything, we'll use this for more money again. And that's where you then fall back on where I'm totally fine with Mariota or Trubisky. Like, he fits that billing of just competence, run an offense, getting out of the huddle. I mean, but here, like, none of these names are that. It's funny because somebody bring up a name, there's issues with all of them, but yep. It's just run a competent NFL offense and spread the ball around. And you also hope more weapons around and get 2 new receivers. Hope that can help. Ideally, better play calling. We'll see. But
so if you're the general manager of the Jets. Congratulations on your promotion. I'm gonna want you fired in 3 weeks, but it's fine. So now, who is your first call as a quarterback? The free agency starts, midnight strikes. Who is the first call for you as a quarterback?
For anything?
For quarterbacks.
Free agents. Okay. It'd be Kirk and then Mariota. Those would be like the top 2 calls.
So you're at 12:01. You're calling Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'm checking in with Kirk. I'm checking in with Mariota, Trubisky. Those would be the top, and then maybe you look down the avenue of like a Sam Howell, the younger option. I don't even love that, but if you want to go the younger route.
What are you laughing about over here? Why are you laughing? You're laughing at a quarterback?
The GOAT.
We're trying to have a serious quarterback conversation here, and you're laughing at us.
Well, I laughed at the GOAT because I knew you were going to play that.
Because look at the names we're trying to have like a football conversation, and we're talking about all these mediocre quarterbacks as our starting quarterback in 2026. It's painful, man.
Not many to choose from. Hey, Armin. I don't expect Trubisky to be there. I think he's going to be signed by Buffalo again as a backup because they're going to need it. And I hope they better research this really quick, because I could tell you, like last year, we were sitting, and guys were getting gobbled up.
No, that's not true. Right. They got Justin Fields pretty quick.
No, I'm talking for backup. Okay, a lot of guys were selected backup when we were, All I know is we don't want to be sitting there and then we don't have a quarterback. I agree. Trubisky, not Trubisky, but Mariota is probably, you're not going to have many to choose from. And you're going to
be
the
top, yeah.
Yeah, you're either going to be paid through the nose for Willis if he's free, and that Cousins wants at least 10 to 15.
Who, Cousins?
Yeah. He's going to ask for it.
He wants more.
He's going to ask for it.
He wants more than that.
He knows this. He probably wants more than that. I'm just saying.
That would be the lowest, probably you get.
Yeah,
but
he's going to want more. He wants the fleece,
and he'll probably get more.
He's going to use it. Yeah, it's just, and something. Every time we talk about, we bring these guys that are older. We saw it with the kicker there with the Zerline, right? He was so great the 1 year, and then you called it too. He didn't look too good in preseason, and then he totally boom.
Yep.
I just don't want to have that again. I just don't want to have just guy come in and he looked good the previous season. Now it's another year. He's that shoulder gets weaker every year. He's not a young pup.
And you got to play in Buffalo. You got to play in New England. It's like,
and you got to sign him for 2 years at least.
Yep.
The minimum.
Yep.
You have no choice.
So your first phone call is to Mariota?
Look, I agree with Bubs. Either or. I don't know how they feel, but it's got to be those are probably only 2 options you have, really. If you're
Isn't that so sad?
But it is.
Horrible 1 in the morning. We're calling Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota.
No one's given up. Backup quarterbacks have become like the relievers in baseball. They're more coveted now than ever before, and it's just No one's going to get it. You made a good point. You're not going to get rid of Davis Mills because you saw what happened with Stroud. If Murray gets cut, Brissett starts.
Yep.
And if Murray stays, Brissett's that's his backup. You're not going to get rid of that because he came in last year when he got injured. You know, and you're not going to pay that money to Malik Willis for 5 starts in the so.
So what are your thoughts on Tanner McKee, who Connor Hughes is really talking about a lot?
Another one that how many starts does he have?
Like
Are
5?
we just go based on what people possibly
what's going to happen? 2 games. I'm sorry, he started 2 games. Tanner McKee.
2 games. Yeah. Why? Because he's from Philadelphia. He's on the Philadelphia the Eagles organization. Are we basing it on that? I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard to. There's not many options, especially it sucks. It sucks.
Aaron Rodgers is available.
Who?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Geno Smith. We got them all.
Geno's not. When you
Tyrod.
When you mentioned that about what he had, I wouldn't be problems having him come in.
Me neither.
For a look.
Nope, not at all.
Know? He's 35, so he's got maybe another 2 years left in him.
Yep.
You know,
that situation in Vegas was a complete train wreck on so many different levels.
You know, we talk about us, but they were worse than us.
Yep.
That's why they're picking first. So,
but people, he's the equivalent of Jameis Winston in many ways. I think Jameis Winston's a much better leader, more personable, like a more fun guy to be around and humor. But Geno, he'll sling it. He can throw it. He can run. He can do a lot of things. He throws bad interceptions at time to time. But
he's going to make mistakes.
But if you have a good offensive line, a good running game, you give Garrett Wilson some help. Geno Smith can score some points for you, 100%.
And no matter what we get, we have to have some trust in Reich that he's going to put a good scheme for these guys. We don't know, but we have to have that trust. It's not like you're going to let this guy run like Rodgers did and do whatever he wants, right? So it's a tough situation, but it's not like many choices. We could throw hundreds of names out, but those, get this guy, get this. I've seen guys talking about having 2 guys that are backups. One is the starter, one's the backup, and we're going to get both of them. We don't have that many choices. Thank God we could still hold on to the Tyrod, hopefully, as the backup to what we have.
I always liked Josh Johnson, actually. I'm not going to lie to you.
Where is he?
He was in Washington. He actually played that Christmas Day game against the Cowboys this year.
So he backed up Mariota.
Yeah, he was back up to
Daniels was out. So he was the third.
Yeah. It's funny because not to cut you off, but it's funny because with these quarterbacks, you look at their numbers, like Tyson, you mentioned even after about Geno, how they could sling it a bit. They're going to turn the ball over. A lot of these guys are, but at least it's going to be entertaining. How bad the Jets quarterback play is, if any of these guys come in here and throw 19, 20 touchdowns, that's huge. That's a positive. You give us 2017 Josh McCown production that he had, I think, 18 touchdowns. He didn't even play the full season. We're begging for that type of production with what we've done these last couple of years. Obviously, the Rodgers season in 2024 had the 28 touchdowns, but just give us 19, 20 touchdowns. That's a huge plus.
I think if we look like a football team, we'd be so happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Based on what we had this past year, if Son of Jaral can put together a great defense, and then we can a decent defense, and we have some decent offense, it might be entertaining.
Okay, so if you want to be entertained, do you want Breece Hall to be one of your entertainers?
He doesn't want to stay here, but I think his agent kind of knows what kind of market he has right now, especially after what Williams signed at $8 million. So I can't see his agent thinking he's going to get any more than maybe 11 million max. It's not like they were banging on the doors at the trading deadline for him either.
Yeah.
All right, one team when it gave him a 4. So you want to test free agency, but Don't expect, you're not going to get more. You're never going to reach the franchise tag of 14 and a half.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, so take that out of your head. I think, like Samini, I think 3 for 33, $11 million a year is probably going to be max what you're getting, and probably more guaranteed money. But is he going to be disheartened because he didn't get his money from other teams as well, and he's just going to sit there like a mope? And or does he come with the attitude back in here? Now, Mougey talked up and all that is because maybe he's looking to do something and see if anyone's interested in doing. But there's nothing you can do. Why would I even call you when I know you don't have many choices? Either you're going to transition him or you're going to pay him 14 and a half. You're stupid if you pay him 14 and a half.
I agree.
Okay. So this might end up, biting them in the ass. And unless they pick up somebody at a cheaper price, that everyone's going to say that's not a bad move, So it's we got a lot of money. We got to put it to good use. We got a lot of holes to fill, and hopefully they get a quarterback in the later rounds. I don't see Simpson being picked by us this year.
Oh, I disagree. I
so.
completely disagree. The haters are going to really hate on this one, but
no, I'm just throwing my 2 cents. I just don't see it.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure. Wait till the scouting combine. Wait till he throws. He's put on 30 pounds. He's healthy. Scouting combine, pro day, second best quarterback in the draft. I don't know, man. He was really good until he started getting hurt and beat up, and everybody started quitting him. Oh, he's this, he's that, and then you heard a litany of injuries he had at the end of the season. It's not. You're not drafting the player he was in school. You're drafting what you think he's going to be in the future and all the talent he brings. And my biggest problem with him is his inexperience. All the other stuff, I think he's a leader. He's smart. He can do it all. He's just inexperienced. You let him sit for a year behind Mariota and Kirk Cousins. Completely cool with it.
Yeah, well, let's see who shines on the combines and the pro days. Let's see if Drew Eller brings his status up, or Nussmeier brings his status up because he's a smart quarterback. They're not
going to be at Ty Simpson's level though.
Well, we don't know that.
I do. Right now, I'm now a draft guru. Guru.
That's your superpower.
That's my superpower.
That's just that and the GOAT.
That's it.
Hey, we have superpowers on this team now. Nobody else in the NFL could say that.
Hey, we don't win, but we got a lot of superheroes.
This is true.
Have a good night, man.
Take care, guys. Be well.
Have a good one.
You know what I like about Javed? Javed will sit in the studio and shake his head and get ready to talk trash. He's not even on the show yet. He's already shaking his head, already ready to fight.
Well, I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know you were looking at me. I thought you were focusing on.
See how he's all demonstrative. He's like, he's all mad already.
I wasn't mad. I actually was agreeing with you.
What?
Yeah, well, that current moment of shaking my head was disagreeing that Nussmeier or Aller could get to Simpson. I was agreeing with you.
So you think that Simpson can really elevate his stock over the next week?
Potentially. I mean, I'll be honest. There was a point during the college football season and I'm not gonna present myself as a draft guru or a film breaker down. I just watched Alabama games and I watched Indiana games.
Yep.
And there's a point where I was looking at it and I was thinking I'd rather have Ty Simpson than Mendoza. And obviously Simpson gets hurt and he starts playing poorly. And part of me still can't let go of that feeling I had watching him in the earlier games, because I do think there are a lot of things with Simpson that you typically don't see on a typical Alabama team. Or in terms of my superpower is getting triggered by Tyson. Honestly, that's my superpower. But I think I like Simpson. I just don't see it happening because I don't think he'll make it to 16. I think 16 is an obvious spot where if there's a team, even if there's a team behind us, that's an obvious spot that teams will be looking to trade above, right? And so I think unless you're prepared, and also to me, I guess the question is this: if you're prepared to take a QB at 16, should you be prepared to take him at 2? I don't think we'll take him at 2.
No.
But I think the question, 16 is enough of a commitment that you get, like, you understand the question, right?
Yep.
And so unless you're willing to trade back from 2, I don't know. I just don't think this is the draft. Like, personally, I just don't think this is the draft. I think you just build up the team as best you can, see if you can survive the year, and if not, then the new GM and head coach are set up to get who they want.
Okay, so then are you in the Kirk Cousins market?
I don't know. Probably not Cousins. For the reasons you guys have talked about, where just the money. Like, I think I put in the chat, but I was looking at his things. He hasn't made less than $20 million in a single season since the first time he got tagged in 2016. Every year since then, he's made well over $20 million, right? Whether, signing bonus and the base combined and everything, right? So Kirk Cousins is someone who knows how to get his money. And in his last deal, he's definitely not taking the pay cut to be on a team that's not going to be competing. If he's taking a pay cut anywhere, I think it would be Minnesota. And because that's a team where, he have a chance at least to make the playoffs and has a good team around him.
Bubs, your thoughts?
I actually could see the Minnesota point. Yeah, taking a pay cut there for more of a win now team. Yeah, he's not going to take a pay cut here, and he's not going to take a pay cut in a lot of places. He's going to try and squeeze every dollar out of you. That's where it's probably you're entering in the 20+ million range per year over the 2 years that you have him. I'm on board with him. I don't think it'll happen, but in the event that he is willing to come here and he's not just trying to milk more money, then he's certainly near the top of out of the options that we have from his play. There's definitely a possibility that he just falls off a cliff, but that's with a lot of these guys. There's that chance. So
then let's play the quarterback flavor of the day. Are you down for trading for Tanner McKee?
No, I'm sorry. I personally, whatever. I've said before, so I'll be consistent in that. It doesn't really matter to me too much what they do. Try and find your competence where you can. Find a veteran option. Find someone who gives you hope or stability, whatever it is. Ideally, you bring the stability. But I just don't see. I've never seen Tanner McKee as he's the guy in the Eagles. He plays a few times in the preseason, and then for the rest of the year, everyone's watching Jalen Hurts and saying this guy's better. He got in the game this year. He wasn't good. Let's be honest. He was not good. His preseason hype, the hype that was building, it all died in that game, and then no one talked about him for like a few months, and then now all of a sudden it's February and we're trying to act like that game didn't happen. The regular season game I watched that game. It was not good. So I don't know about Tanner McKee. I'm not trading for him.
He started 2 games, dude. You got to give him time.
Why do we need to bring in someone who started 2 games?
Because we're at rock bottom. And
you want us to stay at rock bottom. I'm trying to find our way. I'd rather bring in Geno.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Yeah, I'd rather bring in Geno. I think, he was. I mean, that's not gonna happen. But like, he was in a shit show. Their line sucked.
Yep.
Head coach's son was coaching the line. I think they probably had a more dysfunctional coaching staff than us, but who cares, right?
True.
Chip Kelly fired.
Chip Kelly was calling plays that weren't in the playbook.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot better in terms of veterans that we can do than Tanner McKee. If you want to, because the thing about Tanner McKee is you have to trade for him. It's not like if the Eagles cut him, because I think there's a chance they could do that because you don't hold on to him. Whatever, the Eagles like to turn over. Howie likes to turn over quarterbacks often. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. So if that were to happen, and you bring him in along with another veteran as just like another dice roll, fine. But if you're trading for him, you're basically saying like you're going to give him an opportunity to start. You think he can do something for you. So I don't see that.
Fair enough. That's a real. I get it. Yeah, Bubs.
Out of the trade options, then who would be your top trade option? Geno or Brissett, or where do you kind of fall on that?
Probably Brissett. Brissett's free agent, right? So I think no, he's not.
Trade, yeah. I mean, trade. If you're going to trade, who would you be your list
Davis
of
Mills,
top
Brissett,
trade quarterbacks? Yeah. McKee would be on there. Geno.
I liked what I saw from Mills. Mills would be fine option.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's a shoulder shrug for me, honestly. I said it before. I don't think we're in a great spot in terms of nope. There's none of the options we're gonna be able to say where we feel great about it. I think it's more just I guess wait and see what it is. I think we're probably stuck with Carr.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm not saying
as the only as our
get on
quarterback or the only trade option.
as probably I can see that happening, honestly, because I'm not saying I want it. Let's have that be clear.
He does love Aaron Glenn.
Because
Yeah, it does
I
love
even
this.
like even with the Carr quote, right? I said in the chat, the Carr quote and the Glenn quote together will make for just a very funny season of receipts, I guess, because Carr wouldn't be the first player to talk about Super Bowl aspirations and then end up on a shit team. What's it called? Myles Garrett went on and told us about how it was all about winning, and that's what mattered to him. And then he went and re-signed like 2 weeks later. Then you had Adam Thielen signs with the Panthers and tells us he went to the Panthers because they have a Super Bowl roster and he wouldn't be here if they weren't, and they were fucking terrible. So
it's true.
They got the first pick that year, didn't they? Actually, because they got it for Chicago. Yeah. So basically, I wouldn't. Carr coming here doesn't thing. The Glenn quote, I did think it was funny because I wanted to say that because when he was at Detroit. I'll admit I was a Detroit hater. After I just don't believe the quote.
Neither do I.
See what he wants. He's not going. There's no Super Bowl team that's going to take him. So if he wants to play football, you take what you take, right? So but on the Glenn quote, I thought it was funny because I'll be honest. I was a Detroit hater. I still kind of am. Maybe this is like a small time mentality for me, but any other poverty franchise, I don't want them winning a Super Bowl till we do. So that's the way I look at it. I'll be completely honest. So I was hating on him while he was there, right? And I watched their team, and he did have good timely play calls at times, even though I hated the way his defenses played because I felt they just were handsy and said like the refs aren't going to call them all, and I guess that does work against. Yeah, I mean they aren't going to call them all, so and it worked to their advantage. But Glenn did make good play calls. He did do his things, but when you come out and say, play calling's my superpower. Man, the first time you dial up a blitz and you get shredded.
But what bothers me the most with that comment is if play calling is your superpower, then why did you watch Steve Wilkes shit the bed for how many games last year? You watched incompetent defense week in and week out for months and changed nothing.
Yeah, because
that to me is pure incompetence.
I think 100%. And going off of what you said earlier, I think Aaron Glenn is a good play caller, or he showed that he's a good play caller. I think Aaron Glenn did not want to be a play caller as a head coach. I don't think I have to think that. He told us that multiple times on multiple occasions, and he told us that with his decisions that he made by not taking away play calling from Steve Wilkes and taking himself. He was asked that question specifically. He declined it in the press conferences, and he declined to do it on the field or on the sidelines, right? So honestly, we all know what it was, right? He's kissing Woody's ass. He has to defend Woody. If he gets fired midseason, we'll all get to hear about how Woody Johnson did this and that, and he picked this player and that player, and this player was, and Woody was actually in the draft room telling us who we should draft, and Arian Smith was actually Woody's pick. They were gonna hear all kind of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And so
Tyler Barron.
Yeah. So I think it doesn't, to me. I basically what Glenn said, and I just flushed it all because we have to go out there. He had to basically say that he's making decisions himself. He has to do that because even though we all know what it is, and he looks like a clown for doing it, we look so much worse if he comes out and says, "Well, actually, I wanted freaking Wink to call the plays," and then Woody said, "No, you're calling the plays."
Dude, can we be honest? Yeah. I think we know tomorrow there'll be some kind of leak. Wink Martindale's going to say, "I was never willing to come to the Jets and not call plays." There is no way in living hell that's true. It's not. There's no way that's true. It's impossible.
And there's no way that he took that second interview knowing that he wasn't going to call plays. He walked into that building that day thinking he was going to call plays, and Woody, Glenn, whatever, last second told him, "Hey, I want to call plays." And that's where they rushed the interview with Brian Duker, and I relied on my connection with him and the background with him. That's nonsense.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I took away from that press conference was just a question about him because he said something I think was kind of interesting where he basically alluded to the fact that, he talked to the coaches, right? And he thought they were good coaches.
Yes.
But he didn't have
relationships with them,
fundamental like relationship, not only relationship, but like a
synergy.
fundamental like viewing football in the same wavelength. And I'm like, I mean, I know, and because partially because I went back and I looked at some of the stuff he said, right, and he kind of talked about like how that was important when he came in, but he also talked about when he was hiring his coaching staff that he took in input from others, that he wanted to talk to these people to see if they like had their own views, had their own thoughts, right? But you can see, I'll say this, like there's times, many times, right, good coaches and bad coaches, where. And I say good coaches and bad coaches because I think we have bad coaches. But I'll say it for the good coaches part, because you've seen times where there's two good coaches on the same sideline and they don't see eye to eye on things from a football manner, and it doesn't turn to a good product. And for you to not realize or for you to hire people because you think you're going to be pushing things a certain way, and then you're in the day-to-day and you're sitting there realizing, I don't agree about a single fucking thing about the way he views football.
Yeah, but let's
like, how did you end up there?
But think about it. When Aaron Glenn put together the first staff before he fired all of them, he said, "I'm not hiring the best guys. I'm hiring the most compatible guys. It's the sum of all parts will give us the staff that we need. So don't look for the big names. It's about this culture that we have here. We're all on the same page." 1 year later, I need synergy. I need this. I need that.
I figured it out, Tyson. Right. He did hire the most compatible guys. They were just compatible with each other. That's why he fired them all together, right? They weren't compatible with him. They were compatible with each other. So we had to just clean out everybody, right? That's how it works, I guess, you know.
Because this new group understands his vision. The last group didn't see the vision because there was a kind of disconnect somewhere.
They saw their own vision.
Just
totally. But so that was ridiculous.
But just think about like I try, like this is the time of year where we're getting excited about the draft and the free agency. So I'm trying to get rid of all my negative energy. But when he talked today, like if you really set time to think about it, words he said and compared it to last year, there were so many times like, dude, you're a fraud. Like you're literally talking in circles because you're in over your head. Like it comes off that way. It really does.
He has
backtracking
because I truly think even the major staff changes. I think that was all Woody. Like Glenn, because when you the few things that still stand out to me is, Glenn comes back and says he thought about it and he had to make the changes, right? And that's what you'll have to say if you take a very long time to make changes. But there was a few reports that came out at the time that said that the staff's impression was that their jobs are safe.
Yep.
Like the staff's impression is that Glenn did the thing where he's holding the rope. The only person he fired was Wilkes, and that's that, because that's basically the same thing that Dan Campbell did his first year, right? First year happens, he fires he fired their DC, right? Or did he fire the OC? Whatever. He fired one of the coordinators.
Anthony Lynn, the OC, and then he promoted Ben Johnson. Yeah.
He brings in a new OC, and he basically keeps the staff the same otherwise. And because he believed in his staff, he believes in the people he has. But in Detroit, their owners didn't do that. Didn't come in and say fire those people. I truly believe that was fully a Woody thing. Yep. Because as bad as I think Glenn has been, and if I'm trying to be completely fair to him, it just does not make sense for him to flip-flop in that crazy of a way. Because if he was someone to flip-flop like that, I mean, Steve Wilkes wouldn't have made it 5 weeks. There's no way, right? Yeah. So I feel like that I don't understand. So the quotes today, I really felt like he had to say what he had to say to try and make
just get it over with.
Which is why I think Mougey's presser was a lot more important in terms of like the future of the Jets and the position that Jets were in.
No, I mean, it's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, like they got through the press conferences. He had to eat all his words and face the music for having a completely clumsy offseason in terms of handling the coaching staff. And now it's like, all right, he's learned some things. He's self-reflected and did all this great stuff. He's not going to make the same mistake twice. Okay, you've done that last year already. But we're going to let you make your third mistake, and we'll ignore the first two. Now we've got a clean slate. Now we got a whole new year of mistakes ahead of us that are not going to be repeated. So we got to be excited about that, right?
Well, we do love to reinvent the wheel. That's one thing we do. And so I can't wait to see how we're going to make a new mistake, New
mistakes.
Because you figure he had 17 games worth of mistakes, and he's not going to repeat any of them this year. That's going to be interesting.
At a certain point, you gotta just hope it turns around. I like. There's no.
Not a plan.
You can't. I mean, you can go up, but I mean, you can't. I was gonna say you can't keep going down, but I think, interestingly enough, remember we talked last week about Brees, and we're not going to get into a big contract discussion. Although I'll say, off of what Mougey said, we're better off just working out the deal. And I agree with Bubs in that if Brees signs, I think Brees is to me one of the players where, he has ideals and values and stuff, but I think he comes off to me as someone where if he gets his pay, all of a sudden, being somewhere else doesn't really matter as much. I think when I look at that class and you have Garrett and you have Sauce, and both of them stayed very true, where even in their frustrations about losing, they always wanted to be Jets. They talked about, sticking it out and doing this stuff. And Brees kind of said the same things until you got to his contract year, right? Because he didn't get a 50-year, he doesn't have 50-year option, so he's looking at his contract.
He didn't earn it.
Extension. I agree. I completely agree. He doesn't. I mean, he was a second round pick. He doesn't have that option, and he didn't earn a contract extension, and he's in his last year. And then he starts really, really getting vocal about things where you're like, this guy's not criticizing losing anymore. It feels like, and I've seen it enough times in football to know a new contract would just shut him up, and he would just be act like he was fine the whole time, and he just wants to see changes. I agree with Bubs in that. I think you at least, and I wouldn't hate it.
So okay. So you mean to tell me we give him 3 years, $33 million tomorrow?
Yes,
he's happy. He is happy to be a Jet. He loves it here.
I guarantee he doesn't say anything for the next 2-3 years at least.
No. Hold on. 3 years, $33 million.
Yep.
He's happy, loves being a Jet. The Jets are 2-5, and he's averaging 65 yards rushing a game. You think he's not going to start complaining?
Okay, well, I would say I don't know actually, because let me tell you this, right? Let me tell you this. Sometimes I agree. I feel genuinely about it in the fact that I've seen it with players who get paid, and then all of a sudden it's we got to turn this around. It went from like basically I got to get out of here to we because you accept the fact that you might be losing for the money. That is the trade-in you make at that point, right? Some players act hypocritical anyway, and then they still start doing the I got to get out of here thing. But it's true that you see it, Tyson, right? You see guys get paid, and then all of a sudden, they know when they sign that dotted line, right? Because, and I'll say this right now, I think Brees probably gets a higher contract with the Jets than he will on the free agent market. Myles Garrett complains, but Myles Garrett's not saying get me out of here anymore.
But Brees has been doing this for 2 years.
No, I get that. I'm just saying Brees has been extension eligible for 2 years.
I mean, I don't agree. I think he's tired of losing. I think he's tired of this market. I think he's tired of this organization.
I agree, Tyson. I'm just saying,
but money doesn't buy. He can get the money anywhere, dude.
These players, once they get their guaranteed money, they act like the losing doesn't bother them as much. That's all I'm saying. You're paying him to be a great back and a leader in the locker room and a prominent your face of your franchise? Are you still going to get that if he's going to be just a going through the motions and I got my money, I don't care? Well, who knows? I mean, who said I didn't say he had to get his money? I don't care. A lot of these people go, I get my money, now I'm bought in. I don't know. That's a question for the players, right? That's a question for how the management view him. If you saw Mougey say he thinks he's a good presence in the locker room, he thinks he's a good teammate, a good leader. That came out the mouth of the GM who's saying he wants to extend him. And so the question is this, right? If the team is still bad in 2 years, obviously he's going to be bitching and moaning and wanting to get out. If the team starts to turn it around, he's going to sit there and be like, look, I bought in and I believed in this team and they extended me and believed in me and then this, that, right? That's how it goes, right? You just play your situation. The truth is a facade in this, right? The truth of this is Brees wants money. He can say he wants to win. He wants money more. If Brees goes in free agency and the Chiefs say, we'll give you $6 million and the what's the shit team that needs a running back?
The Jets.
Okay, sure, right. If the Chiefs say we're offering you $6 million and the Jets say we're going to give you $11 million, he's coming back to the Jets. Okay. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, but true. But if three bad teams say Say the Jets and the Raiders both offer him $11 million a year. Where's he going to go? Assume that, I know Ashton Genty's there, but say Genty's not there.
Actually, you know what's funny? I actually thought of saying the Raiders, but then I thought of a Genty. That's why I said, "What's a shit team that needs a running back?" I don't know. I think maybe the Raiders, but I would say the Jets because their line sucks and they're not drafting a lineman early.
Okay, Bubs, go ahead.
I'm just thinking maybe the Saints or Titans. I know they have Pollard, but I was just thinking of a bad team.
Yeah, I'm saying
be in that boat.
If the Chiefs offer him a low contract and one of those teams offer him a bigger deal, he's going there. Like
I think he's more about the money.
Yes, players out of contract always want to be winners until it's time to hit free agency and go to a winner. You see it all the time. And that's how I think about it. I see Brees. He wants to win, yes, but he wants to get paid. Everyone wants to get paid. You want to take care of your family.
So you think in this world, you give him that big deal, his whole personality thing changes. He's fully embraced being a Jet, and all is good in Brees land.
Yes, I think Brees is this is his age 25 season. He signs a 3-year contract. He still has enough time to cash into another deal and then still go chasing his career on another team in the future.
Okay, fair enough.
So I say that's how I view the Brees thing.
Would you rather play with the Arizona Cardinals or the Jets?
Neither.
Go back with Mike LaFleur.
To be perfectly honest, neither. But that's just how I view the Brees thing. I did have a question for you, and Bubs. If you were keeping one of Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald, who would you want to keep?
That's a really good question.
Good question. Yeah.
I don't think
if they stay, I still think Jermaine at his best is better than Will McDonald because at his best he can be a 7 to 9 sack guy plus good against the run. Will McDonald's never going to be good against the run, but he could be a guy that's going to get you 12, 13 sacks. That at least feels like his ceiling. So it depends. Do you want the
situational pass rusher, or you want
the 10, 11 sack terrible against the run, or yes, the 3-down guy?
See,
and I think that a lot of that too depends on who they draft.
Yeah,
So,
but also a lot of that's assuming we're going back 2 years of Jermaine Johnson because last year we're writing off a lot of it with bad defense and coming off the injury.
So I would say.
At his best, Jermaine, I'm taking over McDonald.
See, I would lean the other direction. Although I agree with you in, I agree with you in the fact that obviously Jermaine can play the run and he can play the pass, right? I mean, and he can rush, right? I think in a way Will McDonald is a bit wasted on a team like the Jets, in that we never play with the lead. We can't stop the run on early downs. So it's not like, teams are pinned back and they have to throw because they're trailing or because we get a bunch of early stops, right? So he doesn't get as many great pass rushing opportunities. I think if he was on a team where he was able to just pin his ears back and rush a lot, I think he could be a really mid upper teens guy. I wouldn't push him like way high in the teens. But I've seen in the limited amount that we've had where we're a team playing from behind all the time or barely in close games, and he can rack up these big games. I think if you can consistently get him
3 out of 17
clear pass rush opportunities, right? You can get him more of those. And where Jermaine, I would say, to me, what you described was like a higher end JFM, and I love JFM, right? But you said he's a guy who you see as like a 7 to 10 sack guy who can play the run. I don't think you have to pay a defensive end to do that. Like, and I mean, like, actually pay a guy to be that.
I mean, you don't pay him top dollar, but
I'm saying, I think the Jets, unless they both just suck next year, right? Because who knows, that could happen. Right, I expect them actually both to be on. I expect them both to be on the roster. I don't see us.
Well, they're going to pick up Will McDonald's option. That'll be $15 million.
They're going to pick up his option. So then we have 2 years to make a decision. But obviously, I think the decision of who to keep will be made based on how they play next year. I think next year, right?
I disagree.
Let me explain what I mean by that. Right?
I don't think I think Jermaine Johnson gets traded this offseason.
Well, we'll see about that. I don't think so. So I'll go like assuming that they're both on the roster, right? I think the Jets potentially will decide who. I think the Jets will decide based on how they play who to extend. I think if Jermaine outplay, let me explain where I'm going with this. Right, I think you extend Will. Right, you pick up his you pick up his 5th-year option, right, and then you have them both play this year, right, and then if Jermaine plays like clearly better than Will, right, you want to pay Jermaine, you then can just trade Will, who's on his 5th year, right.
Well, you don't even have to trade. You can keep him. He's on his 5th year. You just let him play.
Yeah, I mean, but I assume we'll be adding to the room. I don't think I think we'll be actually investing in. I'm assuming one of our top 4 picks will be an edge rusher or some kind of rusher. I mean, you don't know, right? But I think the tea leaves are reading that way unless they surprise us with like a Downs pick, right? I think we'd all agree with that, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not okay. I'm not gonna. We won't start a Downs conversation right now. But
Okay,
yes,
no,
I agree.
I'm saying like 2 seems likely to be an edge rusher.
Yeah, I think more than likely edge rusher at 2. Yes.
Yeah, so I think you probably end up keeping one of them along with the young guy you end up drafting now. And so where I say that is that if Jermaine, is way better or not, right? I think he goes, right? Or he stays. And then the other, and no, I'm not fumbling. I'm just trying to explain my point. I felt like the setup.
This is like a long-winded lawyer kind of point. Like it's like a point of view. I feel like I'm sitting in a chair being lectured, trying to hear his case. I think Will McDonald can bring us something more special than Jermaine can. But the question is that the Will McDonald thing would have to be something where the entire defense is good, because you can't just be an edge rusher specialist, a pass rush specialist, and have success on a shit defense. I felt like that wasn't that bad of a point. I did take a lot of words to get there, so I'm sorry. Bubs, your thoughts on that very long-winded point?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Will McDonald in the passing down.
Bubs tuned you out, man. He got Bubs just
Bubs was listening to me. He's not you, Tyson.
He tuned completely out there. He was sitting there watching TV or something.
Bubs was listening to me. He's not you.
He completely tuned you out. He's like, yeah, I agree. Just like whatever.
This is him. He's trying to activate his superpower.
I mean the Will McDonald not fitting in. I understand that aspect of it. I also think too what plays a role is if they go through a scheme change. Like if they switch to a 3-4, I do think that has a big impact, because I don't necessarily know if if Jermaine Johnson necessarily fits that billing of just playing it kind of as like an outside linebacker. So that's where you then get into more your David Baileys and Arvell Reeses, and your Reuben Baines don't seem as obvious. So I think there's a couple different checkpoints that have to be hit in terms of that, but I think both players right now are, for what you hoped out of them, they were both disappointing last year, rather. But
yeah,
I think with Jermaine, you hope that it's more of the, he was coming off the Achilles. He was bad though. He was and Will McDonald, he had no juice. I mean, outside the big game against the Browns, his sack totals weren't great. His pressures were down. So, but look,
games where it felt like they quit.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, the Dolphins game was terrible. The Jaguars game, as much as Glenn wants to talk about how they stopped the run down 20, they quit in that game too.
They got pushed around.
No, I mean, against the run, they were awful. Yeah, it was terrible.
Backside edges, not even trying it. I'm not running that guy down.
No.
He ran away from me.
Yeah, and then Jermaine, I was bothered by this. Jermaine, I think it was after the Patriots game. You lose 40, what was it, 45-10, right? I think it was 45-10, 42-10, whatever it was. Could have been like 50, but they missed the kick, and they, Josh Dobbs. But he posted his tackle for loss on Instagram. It's like, he just lost by 30. What are we doing posting a highlight from a 30-point loss on Instagram?
Well, the one thing about Jermaine Johnson, too, he wanted to be portrayed as a leader, like the captain, and like all this motivational, I'm a culture guy. And he kind of melted with the culture as well the last month of the season.
Yeah.
I like the things he says, but there was a point in the season where he had more energy on Twitter than he did on the field.
Yep.
Yeah. He always comes across he always sends out those long tweets, or he'll even say oh, we got to get this turned around. I feel bad for the fans. The fans feel the fans deserve better. And then there's moments where it's like, oh, look at my tackle for loss. We lost by 32. It's like, what are we doing?
Very Jamal Adams.
But Javed, thank you for calling, man. This was one of your better calls. waffles. You only waffled maybe twice, which wasn't too bad.
It was just long-winded. It wasn't waffle. I'll be more concise next time for you.
He just told us for the last half hour.
I have a lot more to say if you like.
No.
Have
a good night, man.
I gotta go.
Later, dude.
How we going?
Bye.
So for those asking, we did tonight because yesterday with the snow and everything like that, you had connection problems. I had connection problems. I was losing power. So we switched to tonight. The show I did with Ian, we did at 6 o'clock there on his channel. So you want to check it out. It's over on that channel. And we talked about quarterbacks for almost an hour and 20 minutes somehow. Don't know how the hell we did that. That's a little switch. Next week we'll be back. I'm sure we're going to be talking about Ty Simpson and the combine and everything else. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And definitely more quarterback talk because at that point we'll be less than a week away from free agency open up, or exactly a week really from free agency open up. So that'll be good. It's funny. I actually was like, I stood right next to, speaking of it, back in June, I was going out to Colorado for a family member's wedding, and I was standing right next to, in like the security line at Terminal A of Newark Airport, right next to Jermaine Johnson, because it was right before, like, it was right at the end of OTAs and like a couple days before minicamp. So I assumed he was going out to LA. I was standing right next to him, and figured
Did you say hi?
No, I didn't say anything. It was like the security line of the airport. It wasn't very conducive in the moment. I didn't want to create a scene.
All right, so we talked about a lot of situations for the Jets, which are just seem like a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of despair and lack of hope. And one of our callers is celebrating a Super Bowl victory, which I can't even fathom or relate to whatsoever. So let's bring on the only champion on this channel, because this is all he knows is winning. What's up, Jose? How you doing, man?
Jason, I know you superpower.
My superpower?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's fishing. You have to deal with the Japanese. Have to deal with like dramatic. When the doctor happened, I'm the same thing.
Yep. Superpower.
How are you?
Something.
Doing good.
Good. Also, is what do you have to combine or no?
No, I'm sure Woody's busy and he's down in Florida hanging out on the beach and counting his money.
Yep. Looking at his free agency board.
Yeah. He's right. He's getting his combine list together.
Yeah.
Nothing good can come of that.
Nope.
He's checking their Madden ranking.
Yeah, he's checking the measurements, the 40 times,
the
Madden ratings,
film breakdowns.
God help us.
He's never up to any good.
Nope.
So I was thinking of quarterback.
Uh-oh.
For the Jets and Tyson, you're gonna hate me for
I would never hate you, Jose.
bringing this name back up, but you mentioned a tall, statue-like quarterback.
Don't say Tim Boyle.
What? I thought of one. Joe Flacco.
We could do worse. Joe Flacco's been playing his ass off, man. Last year he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was moving a bit too.
Yes, he was.
He'd come here though and just turn right back into a statue.
He'd literally get hurt in training camp. He'd be out for a year in training camp.
He would.
Wouldn't make it to.
But I just thought I'd throw that.
It's not a terrible idea. He played really good football last year.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say.
Jose, good. How are you enjoying that Super Bowl victory, man?
I'm still basking in the glow.
You should be.
I love you
Must
guys.
be nice.
Have a good night, man.
Love you guys.
Have a good one.
You take care, man. You, man. All right, Bub. Somehow we made it to an hour and a half with nothing to talk about. This is pretty cool.
Yes, a good show, and keep moving forward with the quarterback talk. But good. Good amount from the combine pressers today. We learned that our coach has a superpower, and the GM said a lot without saying much. The Brees Hall stuff was the big stuff, but Glenn continues to talk himself in circles. So I just think not to cut you off, but I just think I'm at the point with Glenn where like anything he says, I'm just angry. Like it was like 12:30 and I started to get angry. Like getting ready to watch the press conference. It's just whenever he speaks, it's just I get angry.
So a week from now, will the Jets have a deal done with Brees Hall?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Really?
You mean like when's the tag? The tag deadline's tag deadline's Monday?
Yeah, the 3rd, I think, right?
Is it the 3rd? So I believe that's Monday, right?
I think they have like a week.
No, I'm gonna say they tag him. I think it's the 3rd.
Yep, it's the 3rd. Yep, 3rd. So, all right. Deadline's the 3rd. So you're saying they're going to tag him. No deal done.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree
what
with
about
you.
you.
I completely agree.
No deal.
He won't sign. He's not going to sign. And he's not going to sign the tag. I'm going to say transition.
Yeah. I think that'd probably be the smarter option.
Yeah, I'm not paying him $14 million for a year. Fuck that.
Transition and then get a deal done, or potentially work out a deal. But at that point, that's the risk you take. Is if you lose, and then you get him losing for nothing.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna go tag.
Well, thank you guys for joining us
this week. Yeah,
100%. So next year we're going to talk about Brees Hall's tag or no tag, the combine, the Ty Simpson experience, and everything else. So thank you for joining us on a random Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.
J-E-T